believe I'm streaming. I'm going to exit out of here. This is totally an experiment. I've been having tech issues all day. I have been trying to run this exit stream. Exiting will not end the stream if it is currently live. I don't know if that's what I want or not. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm connected to YouTube. I'm trying to use OBS, and I am not sure at all if it's working. I'm trying to use OBS. And I am not sure at all if it's working. I believe that I have the wrong audio source selected. Hey everyone, I apologize. You would not believe the tech problems I have had today, and I am just trying to sort them out without missing this live stream. Let me, heck yeah. Hey Dirty Socks, how's it going? Hello Robert. I do believe the audio is not working out super great. I need to figure out how to fix that. I am trying to use OBS, and I found out very how can I put this, very inconveniently, that I cannot live stream directly to YouTube once I have installed OBS. It seems that I must use OBS for some reason, because it shows my camera as being used already, which is very inconvenient. I was not at all ready to stream with OBS, but alas, I could find no way to circumvent this issue. Thus, I am forced to try to explore a way to do this. Deck of many characters you draw, Mazak. Okay, I'm gonna see if this audio sounds at all reasonable. Use OBS. Hello? And I am not sure. Yeah, I'm definitely picking up the audio in some way that is not working super great. It's not working super great. Do I have a way? Audio input capture. Let's try this. Okay. Device. Oh, this might fix it. All right. Hello. Is that sounding any better? All way that I cannot live stream directly to. All right. Hello. Is that sounding any better? All. Okay. At this point, okay, I have an echo now. Okay. I think I can stop the echo. What happens if I do this? Okay. Now, can you hear me without an echo? I don't think anyone can hear me now. Hello. Do you still? Wait a minute. The chat is messed up for me. No echo. Is there an echo right now? Do you hear an echo? Echo again. Okay. Gotcha. I think we figured it. Okay, now there should be no echo. How does that sound? And does the audio sound good right now? And is there an echo? Okay, so it is good. Does the audio sound like it's from far away, or does it sound like this is the mic that's being used right now? Okay, just a bit quiet. Okay. Volume low. Okay. For the record, I have 1,000,000% clue what I'm doing. I did not intend to use OBS today, but I could not find a way to circumvent it, which is quite inconvenient. Massive, 100% inconvenient.
Oh, it is. I dare say it is a challenge today. Okay, but I think this is the best we're gonna get right now. That makes the rest of us fair, very fair. Okay, I think. Let me see here. It is so interesting that I have to turn that all the way down. Your mic is on vacation too. It might be. It might be, I guess. Thank you all for. I sound good. Okay, okay. I appreciate everyone giving me feedback and helping me. It is very difficult to try to gauge it without someone on the other side. So I think we should be okay. The topic of this live stream um, was going to be how to get player assistance with GM duties. It's good sound now. Okay, good. I think we have it figured out then. I think we have it figured out. Very good, very good. My goodness, if I would have known I was going to have to do this, I would have worked yesterday to set this up. I did not anticipate this at all. I have the device. Oh, okay, I can select device here. Gotcha. Good morning, everyone. It is about getting player assistance. It is. Oh, you're right, Agile Monk. That's actually kind of ironic. It's very ironic. And you guys left some awesome feedback in the Discord. I have no idea what I'm doing. I haven't even put the Discord link in there. It is an absolute mess. I'm just gonna read this stuff and comment on it. We're just gonna go right into it. Join the Discord. Uh, find one of my other videos, and there's probably a Discord link in it. That's what we're gonna do today. I'm just gonna say that today, and we're gonna jump into this. Okay, now the idea here is when we have players who want to game with us. These players are probably very talented and they could help us as GMs. As GMs, we can get help. We can get help. Kind of like when you can't figure out how to get your mic working and the chat helps you figure it out. Or when you need someone to take notes for you during the session, or when you need someone to, you need someone to help you track initiative. Sometimes it is really, really good to get help from the players. GMs shouldn't have to do it all, and they don't need to do it all. There's a lot of good that can come from the players helping. The players can totally help. And this video is going to be basically a rundown of the feedback I received on Discord when I put this in the Discord. The Discord community really came through with some awesome advice, lots of great advice, and I copy and pasted a bunch of it into a document, and I'm just going to read it, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to try to organize my windows here. Let's see. Can I do this? Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, heck yeah. Okay, looking good, looking good. Can I still see the... All right, very good. Wait a minute. D. Coopark says, I ran my first ever game last night. Everyone didn't believe it was my first time. I'm absolutely buzzing. The players are very engaged, as new players too. Heck yeah. Congratulations, D. Coopark. That's awesome. That is super awesome. All right. This is, ooh, what an interesting sound check. GM Philosopher. Sound, yes, it is a sound check. Totally, totally. All right. So one of the first comments that was dropped in the Discord was Junko8374 said, I have nothing to offer. My players can barely remember what happened last session or what useful items they have in their inventory. No way I trust them to help me DM. And then Superfly Rob 7813 kind of came in with a little bit of information. Now this is interesting, and I want to start out with this one because this sort of draws a picture. Sometimes game masters don't really get assistance with the gaming duties, and now as a GM, I don't know about you. I don't know if you feel often overwhelmed by games. I don't know if you often feel overwhelmed by all the stuff you have to do, like to keep up with it, like mapping, keeping notes, tracking, initiative, tracking plot arcs. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. And Junko basically was saying, my players barely even remember what happened last session or what useful items they have in their inventory. So it sounds like Junko is kind of saying their players don't even track inventory. And Superfly came in with a comment that I think sort of embodies exactly what we're talking about here. Superfly Rob said, this sounds like there's either a lack in communication of standards as you expect as a DM and what they expect as player. maybe taking some time before your next game and having that talk could improve things. I have a list of jobs I share with my players: note taker, loot log, monster logger, big title, or big and little mapper, open side quest tracker are just a few of the duties. Um, so I actually agree. So I think that, hey, boss bully boy, how's it going? Hey, Alex, good to see you in the chat. Jubert Sten is here. Profit Roll is here. Mr. Dirty Socks, of course. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I apologize for my tech glitches today. They are quite glitchy, but I believe we have reached a point where we are doing something right. I think it's going right. I think. Okay, so now, uh, I think that Superfly Rob is pointing something out in talking with Junko here in the comments, where it's like, yeah, a lot of GMs will probably start by default, especially if they're playing with new players, not really having anyone helping them with specific things. A lot of times I think GMs need to ask for this, or like Superfly Rob said, make a list of jobs to do. And I think that this is actually a great idea. I think it's a great idea for GMs to get players roped into and being involved in the jobs. There are a lot of jobs, and the game can be made a lot better if players kind of like track things that the GM doesn't like. So there are things like, for example, loot. The GM will hand out loot, but if the GM also has to track that loot, then that is like, okay, that's something that a player could do. It's not like something that the GM has to do. Once the GM does have to describe what the loot is, but then the players could add that to the inventory. And if the players do take that and write that down, add it to the inventory, this takes away from things that the GM needs to do and lets the GM focus on instead things that only the GM can do. And these are the most important things for the GM to do, the things that only the GM can do. And so a lot of times I think GMs are afraid to ask their players for assistance. And the reason that they do that is because they kind of think, well, it's not really, their job. I'm the GM. I'm supposed to be running the game. Well, this is true. However, if you get a little bit of help running the game with stuff that is not necessarily GM specific, then that can free you up to do an even better job. And so in a lot of ways, asking for player assistance can be a lot like saying to the players, I want to run the best game possible. Here are some things that you could do to help make that possible, and I'm going to ask you to help with these things because I want to make the best possible game for you, right? So that's kind of like where that comes in. Shy said collaborate, 100% collaborate. Okay, now I'm going to read through some of these other ones. Garrick says, great setup. I only have 3 players, and the sister's a scheduler, notes, XP, and loot log. Nephew is the map guy and backup notes and loot. Brother-in-law is party tactical specialist. So Garrick has given his group 3 players, and they all have jobs to do. Sounds like it makes Garrick's job of running the game easier, and it frees up Garrick to do the things that only he can do, which is to be an awesome GM, right? Blinken42 said, I always denote a player as the bank. Usually they get something like a bag of holding to go along with it. Plus, it's always fun when one player needs to ask another for an allowance, because that's funny. Hello? All right. I think I freezed again, but maybe I'm back. Do I sound like I'm back? I apologize for the tech glitches today. There are so many. I'm having so many tech glitches. Back? Okay. Yep, crashed and stop and go. Yeah, I totally see. Okay, back. Yes, you're back. Okay, very good. My apologies, everyone. I have to get this stuff sorted out. It is definitely a problem. But okay, let's continue. Come back from the 9 hells, GM. We need you. Okay, so, but Jubert was talking about how basically the players talk about things, and this gives them really great inspiration for future gaming ideas. And then one of the players loves to keep notes of basically everything that their character and the others have. Another enjoys in-depth map details along with leading the party to stick to the plot. One enjoys being rambunctious to a degree, but knows how to keep things interesting in case they think that they're slacking on a bit of detail for something, which happens from time to time. And my last one loves backstory interpretation for each character, wanting to get more knowing of each character's pros and cons for situational awareness. Um, oh, is the sound going in and out? Is it? It might very well be. It is just a day of problems. It is a day of problems. Workload. Fine for me. Okay, maybe it's not me on that one. Maybe if it's fine for profit roll. But Agile Monk, I would not blame you for thinking it might be me because I have been absolutely laden with with tech issues today. Anyway, so Jubert basically said, like to give the players jobs, and some of them have specialties that they're really good at, and they help in their own unique ways, and it is very helpful, and it gives Jubert inspiration for how to do things in the future, which I think is really, really reasonable and very good. Dirty Socks says, first of all, each one had to write their own backstory. A lot of DMs could say that's a given, but I don't think it's a standard. I each let them pick a unique item they could choose, and I tell them to pick anything they'd like. The following items were chosen: an indestructible sword, armoring of cord, deity, which provide the character 3 pretty powerful minor action abilities. Throwing sword on chain, it can be used as a melee and is ranged. This character was always throwing a sword and then lost them a couple times, so I suggested this weapon for him. Druid chose an ocarina, could summon spirits with to aid them in different tasks. Totem of the Mother Bear, shaman item, could be summon spirit animal with it, and he can fuse together with his spirit animal like in a trance-like state, Avatar Last Airbender kind of thing, and he became a giant large bear. I have a rules lawyer person, so when we get to some in-game difficulties, he searches for ways to rule it. Furthermore, I am trying to get some people aboard for creating different in-world surroundings, different areas and stuff, which they have a link with. Okay, so basically, it sounds like what Dirty Socks is talking about is get the players to help with their backstories. And this might seem like a given to some GMs, but for some GMs, maybe this is not something they're doing, but something that could be very helpful. And then there is a, remember, like the video, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. That's super nice of you. Asking for the likes and the thumbs ups and whatnot is super, super helpful. And then basically letting them have a say in like their starting items, it sounds like. So like them doing a little research maybe into magic items instead of you just like tossing stuff out there. Let them have a choice in it. And then also a rules lawyer person. I have a rules lawyer at my table who their whole job, their job like as far as contributing to the GM part is to help look up rulings and look up spells and things like that during the game. And then get some people involved in creating different world surroundings, which can be super cool. World building with the players is fun because it gets them also invested in the world. So awesome points there, Dirty Socks. Awesome points. So Carl says, as a semi-pro DM, I tend not to specifically offload tasks to my players, but there are some things I have them do that does help me out significantly. During the lead up to the start of the game, while they are creating their character and especially their backstories, I have them name and describe at least 2 people in the immediate environment, town, residents, regular visitors, etc., that they have some form of connection to. I encourage them to include a third if possible, and to make sure at least one of these connections is not a friendly connection. It doesn't have to be enemies, and it shouldn't be a I'll kill you next time I see you thing, but a rival, someone you have wronged or has wronged you, etc. This gives me a library of NPCs to use for color, giving quest hooks, etc. If the group is going to be traveling to a new area, I check to see if anyone wants to give me a connection in that area as well. Okay, that's awesome, actually. So asking with help, basically with NPCs. So that's another thing that players could do to help the GM out and make the game better in that respect. Next, we have Superfly said, oh, yeah, totally. I make a handout with the standards and expectations section in it to avoid this type of stuff. This way, if there is any question, the player has it on hand. So making handouts is really... Actually, that's a super good, session 0 topic. But Superfly Rob, it sounds like, is basically saying a handout with the standards and expectations. So standards and expectations being that Superfly Rob would like his players to help with the game prep or help with some duties to lighten the workload of the GM, especially doing things that players could do. And so putting that in your handout in your session 0 is actually really good. Yeah. Carl says, you'd be surprised what giving a player the task of giving the session recap will do for engagement. I have a friend who gives out a free luck point heroic inspiration to whoever gives the recap at the beginning of the session. This lack of engagement is one of the reasons that run and play in paid games, though. Okay, so basically what they're saying is giving out things like free, luck points or inspiration to people who give the best recap or people who are willing to give the recap is a good way to reward it, but also just getting people to give the recap causes them to be way more engaged, which actually makes sense to me, and that sounds about right. All right. Now I want to make sure that everything's still working here. I think everything's still working. I think. I think. I don't know what's going on. I'll be really honest. I don't know what's going on. For all I know, I could be just talking to an empty screen and nobody's on the other side. DQ Park says yes, all good. Okay, that's good. At least there's movement on the other side. I also can't see how many people are in the chat. This is very inconvenient. I just cannot stress how inconvenient this is. Oh, there's 15 watching. Awesome. Heck yeah. OBS, I've never even opened it before, about 15 minutes ago. Profit Roll says, in my experience, having all the players remind each other of what happened, no one remembers everything all the time. That's true. Nobody does remember. Like, asking for one person to remember everything isn't really realistic or necessarily fair, even for the GM, actually. 1315, I think. Hey, Herminator, how's it going? Great to see you. All right, so... Robert Evans says, standards and expectations sections have things like job titles and duties, communication expectations, etc. We all have to be on the same page, and it's important. That is important, and we do need to be on the same page. And talking about it session 0, giving a handout even with some of those job descriptions on it could be a really good way to do that. All right, let's talk, let's go to... Superfly Rob has another comment here. I find hard copies work best with the group I share, talking about handouts that have job descriptions on them that players can help with, mostly because we limit the amount of screens at the table. As a side note, I provide folders and character sheets to the players, so to keep track of this stuff. I also give out RP notes in hard copy form so as to spawn better role playing. How many times have you told a player they know something and everyone at the table considers it told to them in character? These types of handouts allows the players to RP the parts they want and keep secret the other parts. Having secret knowledge is so much fun to roleplay. It is super fun to roleplay. But anyway, all right, good tips there. Garrick says, I use a goal reward coupon system a lot, and almost exclusively giving XP as the reward. I'd appreciate thoughts on what other rewards to give when characters reach a goal I've proposed to them. Now, I'm thinking that Garrick is also talking about having players help and what kind of rewards you can give them for helping. I kind of feel like if there are players who are going to volunteer to do more work than others, one thing I'd like to do is give them points toward like a magic item in-game. I think that's a fun way to reward them. But anyway, these players keep hoarding single-use items like potions and scrolls as if they will never see another one, and then they never get used. These goals basically never rise to something that would make a permanent magic item reasonable. I'm in the process of enabling one character already, so that's probably out. They have enough gold. Any thoughts? Or ennobling. I'm sorry, not enabling, ennobling. My thoughts is you give them points toward a magic item. I think that's a great way to like reward players for doing things, and giving them inspiration too is a really great way. All right. Jackass Rampant says, I ran a group with a forever DM who made a fortune in his 40s, retired, and has treated his Sunday game like a full-blown job for the last 20 years. He was the party leader in my games, and dang it, if this obsessive overcommitment didn't convince him that letting players recap anything was a bridge too far, so he would try to shut down any load on players that didn't pertain exclusively to their character. His game was a hardcore, unapologetic railroad, and he would never have stood for what I was trying in his own game. So he saw me trying to get players involved and simply assumed I was being lazy. Okay, so I see what's going on here. So Jackass Rampant was basically saying there was a DM that that they were playing with who seemed to really frown on giving the players anything to do, whereas you're kind of saying this could be helpful. Um, so um, this, I think, is a thing that some GMs think to themselves. I think they think to themselves, if I offload some duties to the players, I'm not being a good GM. But I believe this is a myth. I don't believe that this is true. I think sometimes we have to offload some things to our players, and I think it's better for the game if we do that. For example, I'm playing Grom Izek in Williams' game. Shout out Dungeons and 20s, but I am tracking party gold. I am like, when there are any documents, like player created documents, like Grom has a calligrapher's set, so like I actually write them out and I like put them in the chat. So like I manage a lot of those types of things because it's like, okay, I want to really keep track of what's going on. I don't like try to put all that on the GM. For example, Grom made a deal with like a tavern owner, and I actually had the contract written out, and then I put it in there, and then once we negotiated, I adjusted it, right? I didn't like try to put that on the GM. That's like too much work for the GM. That's something that I could do role playing Grom's character, make this like contract for the wine deal. So anyway, that's just a little way that I help. But I love to help in mapping too, like trick maps. Sometimes when I play in other people's games, I'll like do initiative for them. I'll be like, hey, let me do initiative for you, because that's something that I can do as a player, and the GM doesn't have to take 5, 10, 15 minutes out of their busy duties to like just gather initiative rolls. I can do that for them. So it's just little things you can do. Okay, so let's see. Superfly Rob said, in response to Jackass Rampant's comment, that game I would have had a hard time playing in. If you are there for the ride, cool, I guess. However, if you're a proactive player, it does not sound fun. And I kind of agree. I think players enjoy, like engaged players enjoy having a measure of control over what's going on with their character. I don't think they want to just jump into a game and do no lifting, right? Jackass Rampant said, agreed. I sat in on one session of his game, and it was every bit as bad as you would think. In fairness, it was less of a campaign, QA campaign, and more of a diversion for the chronically unhoused, where they could get high and have a meal and a nap in safety. So not for us, but good that it exists. Wait a minute, I do not what? Agreed. I sat in one of sessions of his game, and it was every bit as bad as you would think. In fairness, it was less of a campaign, QA campaign, and more of a diversion for the chronically unhoused. Is he saying that GM was literally running a game for homeless people? Is that what he was saying? I think that's what he's saying. Funny thing, he had no problem understanding that wasn't what I was doing, but he didn't have a framework for how to DM the conventions I was working under. So his actions and decisions betrayed a concept of agency, but players getting involved with the campaign just made no sense to him. That took a wild turn. I'll be honest, Jackass Rampant, that took a wild turn I was not expecting. It sounds like dude was literally running. It almost sounds like he was running it in like a homeless shelter, but I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure that I'm reading that right. But that's a turn. Like that's a different kind of turn. I'm going to say this. A GM running games for people, okay, if it's truly running games as a diversion for the chronically unhoused, though the chronically unhoused might not want to do a bunch of work for their for the game. It might just be a diversion. I mean, they might be just there hanging out, and they may not have like a lot of bandwidth to like deal with getting really immersive in the game. So I don't know, man. I just feel like that changes my outlook on that a little bit. Perhaps that GM is just more so experienced with that sort of crowd that he is sort of lost touch with what it's like to game with like immersive gamers who want to put effort into their player characters, and it's not just a diversion for them. Like they're actually doing it because they want to play. They proactively sought it out. It's not just another option for a fun thing for them. Maybe that is I've never heard of that kind of thing before. Interesting. John Haney says, honestly one of the best things players can do to help the GMs to actually manage their own characters. I agree with this. I think that's the bare minimum. I shouldn't have to tell you how much damage the monster did last round. You should have marked it on your sheet. I totally agree with that. I should have to tell you how many arrows, torches, or rations, or I shouldn't have to tell you how many torches, arrows, or rations you have left. You should have been keeping track, and for goodness sake, I shouldn't have to calculate your spell save DC mid-session or look up a spell to see how it works. You should have done your homework. Best way you can take a load off me is to actually carry your own. I think this is really true, and I think this is a fantastic first step for getting players more involved with their for getting players more involved in the process. They can do even more than that, but yeah, no, that's totally ground zero where what players should be doing. No doubt, no doubt. Now that brings up a question: is D&D 5e complicated enough that that's too much to ask sometimes for new players, right? Drop a comment, let me know what you think. Drop a comment, let me know what you think about that. All right. Jackass Rampant said, yes, I think it's important to break this down into stuff that happens at the table and away from the table. Like in my game, if you've been there for more than a few sessions, I expect you to understand your own mechanics really well and that you're tracking your own equipment. So far, I'm about 90% compliance on the first one, and second one, like 80% for big stuff and 40% for arrows and hardtack. That's like job one, and I think it's more or less common to all games, except the arrows and hardtack part. There are multiple valid approaches to that. But then there's another level. If you bring your pen, you can do 80% of the labor for that at the table, and apart from a few minutes per session, it's just an extension of show up prepared and play. That's fine, but it's not the same thing as a way to build attachment for the players. And the load it takes off the DM is just of the everybody acting like an adult variety, which, well, is welcome, but you can only be so effusive in your praise for the expected. But the only attachment you've built is to your character sheet. Better than nothing, not the basis of an immersive role-playing experience, definitely, though. That's paramount, I agree. So that's Jackass Rampant is actually bringing up a good point, saying, yeah, getting players to carry their own is good, but at that point, the only connection they're building is to their character sheet. Whereas if you have them help you with NPC connections, have them help you with mapping, have them help you with possible plot arc things in the future, or like Dirty Socks was saying, picking out magic items for their characters, etc. If you get their help with these things, that's going to build connection to the game, which I high key agree with, and I think that's a really good way to think about it and a good way to approach it. And in my experience, that is super helpful for building emotional connection to the game. So I agree with you, Jackass Rampant. Junko said, oh yeah, we do the player recap thing and my players are really great. Coming up on 4 years with 9 players, couldn't be happier. 9 players is quite a large group, actually. But my reality is their memory, foresight, and planning is sorely lacking. And I think asking any more of them to help me with tasks or prep would be a little much. Thanks for the advice, though. And then Jackass Rampant says, it's interesting watching how the dynamics do and don't change from table to table. Superfly Rob says, player recap? No, we have a site we use for things like lore and modern settings, the news. We also publish the notes from the previous game. If you missed the game, you reference those notes before the game. Our pregame is announcements and going over any things we need to retcon. Superfly Rob says, yeah, something seems to be universal and others are very table specific. Oh, responding to Jackass's Jackass Rampant's comment, how it differs from table to table. Okay, that's all the immediate notes that were in the Discord. Now, I want to discuss this for just a minute. I think that I've noticed a trend here. I want to read a couple of these comments first, though. Profit Roll says, I find it easier tracking some things for the party than remembering to add sneak attack damage and toggling features like rage and its bonuses. D. Coopark says, Herminator, I think it's more you offer it to them, and if they take it, then it's easier for you. Oh, okay, I see. Robert says, finding certain job roles can be filled out by the players themselves. If you as a GM has everything under control, then you don't have to delegate any jobs necessarily. That's true. You don't have to delegate any jobs necessarily. Herminator says, playing with online character sheets on D&D Beyond really helps with players tracking their own characters. Yes, I agree. Actually, it makes it really easy. Garrick says 5e is complicated. That's one reason we left D&D, but I've said that before. Yeah, no, I totally expected, Garrick, that you would drop a comment in there. Robert Evans says, I do not think 5e is complicated. I hail from the days gone by of the box set. Shiranu says, Discord sound was very loud. Discord sound was very loud. I do not... Is there audio going in Discord? Is there audio of me going in Discord? I'm gonna check it out because that surprised me. I'm like, do I have audio going in the Discord right now? And if so, what is it doing? I don't know. I do not know. Interesting. I don't see that I'm putting any sound in Discord. Oh, I had a Discord ping. Oh, that's from desktop audio. Oh, gotcha. I got to turn that down. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so now I've turned down the desktop audio in OBS. Okay, gotcha. When someone drops a post in Discord. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. All right. I have like one more thing to add to this. Here's what I think. And here's kind of like what I have gathered from the collective wisdom of the chat in this. I kind of think that GMs should take stock of... So I want to preface this by saying I kind of think the GMs, it's in their best interest to try to run the best game possible. And it's in their best interest to make that as easy for them as possible. And so I think that what would be good for a GM to do is for them to think about their process and think, okay, what could players do to help me? Some obvious things are track loot, take notes, mapping, and then even help with things like world building, maybe NPCs, background NPCs, even choosing magic items for themselves, like doing some research and telling the GM what kind of magic items they would like to have, so the GM isn't having to do all that research. So these are all things that players could do to help, in addition to more. There's many more things, but that was sort of like a good list, like from the comments, and I agree with that list. So what you could do, taking a note from Superfly Rob, you can put all those on a sheet of paper, and next time you get together with your group, you could pass it around and say, hey guys, listen, I want to be the very best that I can be. I want to run the best game possible, and I do spend, what it'd be 10, 20, 30 minutes doing these things at every session, but if I had help, I could like do more of the things that only I can do, and you fine, awesome players could help me out. So here's the list of jobs. Here are some rewards I would give for these jobs. You're going to get points toward magic items, going to get inspiration, going to get XP, whatever it is for your table, whatever works the best for your table. And I kind of feel like that could be a really great way to start getting players to help a little bit more. And I think that that would be actually probably the approach I would take. And I will say, I think I might take this approach because I do feel that I, as a GM, have a tendency to maybe not give my players enough opportunity to help with things that they could help with, and I don't ask for help enough. And I do think that this could be helpful for me too. So boom, maybe this one was more for me than for anyone else. And I think I learned a lot. And to be honest, the comments gave us a really good groundwork for what we can do with it. Anyway, so shabam. I think that's going to wrap up this session. We've been talking for about 15 minutes since we had about 15 minutes of tech malfunction. I apologize to everyone. Thank you so much for showing up and hanging out with me. Having a great coffee break live. I'm almost done with my caffeinated drink here. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for coming back. By tomorrow at 1 p.m., maybe I will have this all sorted out. I will at least be this good at it, so that's a good thing. All right, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you later.